Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. My name is John Shipley. I am your host and beat reporter, and today we are talking about the comments made by Jacksonville Jaguars linebacker and impending free agent Devin Lloyd this week from the Pro Bowl. Devin Lloyd was, of course, one of two Jaguars to participate in the Pro Bowl games this week, along with Ross Matisic. Lloyd played in Tuesday evening's Pro Bowl flag football game. Watched a little bit of it just out of pure curiosity. NFL would be great at flag football when it inevitably comes to the Olympics. Jamar Chase made amazing catch for a pick six. The tush push in a flag football game was also a good bit. Otherwise, the only really noteworthy thing that ever comes out of Pro Bowls anymore are players doing interviews. Talking about the Super Bowl, talking about new coaching hires, talking about their old coaches going places, talking about, most importantly, impending free agents. And Devin Lloyd's one of those. I mean, there are consistent projections out there of his contract hitting north of $20 million or just around $20 million. We've talked about Devin Lloyd quite a bit. And we should talk about Devin Lloyd. And second team All-Pro and Pro Bowl linebacker being available as a free agent is a significant thing. It does not happen very often. The Jaguars legitimately have a guy who had the kind of season that says he's a centerpiece and a building block set to hit free agency. This is the true question mark and decision point for the Jaguars regime in their second offseason. Him and Travis Etienne, but more so Devin Lloyd. I told you guys really my stances on Devin Lloyd. I think he had a fantastic year. Obviously played great. He's beloved inside the locker room, the coaching staff. You won't find anybody who dislikes Devin Lloyd. Great guy, great leader, great human being. Great teammate. These are all things people are consistently saying about Devin Lloyd. There's a reason his teammates are so excited for his success this year. I mean, when he didn't make, the initial Pro Bowl list because he went there as an alternate, Josh Allen was pissed off. So I think ultimately, and obviously, as we've discussed, there's just no way the Jaguars can franchise tag Lloyd. Never say never in the NFL, but I feel really confident in this one that they're not going to place a $28 to $29 million franchise tag for 1 year of Devin Lloyd services. Speaking from the Pro Bowl this week, Lloyd made some key comments, gave a key update on his free agency outlook. He spoke to NFL.com's Kevin Patra. I hope I'm obviously pronouncing that correctly. And Patra wrote that Lloyd said that while he prefers to stay in Jacksonville, he's had no talks with the team yet about his future, opting to focus on the Pro Bowl before free agency ramps up. Now, obviously, you can read in between the lines there. Devin Lloyd and the Jaguars haven't not had contract talks because he was preparing for the Pro Bowl. We're all adults here. That's clearly not the reason. Nobody is taking the Pro Bowl that seriously. Nobody in the history of the Pro Bowl has ever taken it that seriously, even when it used to semi-mean something. It definitely doesn't mean something now. Maybe if you watch that, it's very clear that it means very little. So I think, it's him being political, being nice. But the important thing is he's had no talks with the team to date. Now, I believe a couple things about that statement. One of them is that I'm not sure how even unusual that is. I mean, go back to past Pro Bowls. I'm not positive, but I don't think Evan Ingram said that he had any talks with the Jaguars yet at that point. I know Josh Allen hadn't at that point when he talked from the Pro Bowl. And these are obviously different examples entirely. Everybody's a case-by-case basis, but those were a completely different regime, completely different football building. You can't compare how they operate. It's just showing you sometimes maybe the timeline on when people have discussions. Because, Hines Allen and Evan Ingram both ended up signing extensions after that. So I guess, to bring them up, I would say at least that they are examples that just because the team hasn't spoken with a guy by the Pro Bowl, by Super Bowl week, doesn't mean, in my opinion, that it means nothing's going to happen. So I think if you're seeing that update and you're saying, okay, Devin Lloyd is not staying in Jacksonville because they have yet to start contract talks with him, I don't think that's necessarily accurate. I don't believe that they will re-sign him. I think he'll hit free agency. But no part of me believes that it's because, they haven't spoken to him at this point about the Pro Bowl. Lloyd said, per Patra, quote, "I want to be where God wants me to be," which is similar to what he said at the end of the season. Quote, "For me, being back in Jacksonville, my mom lives out there. Obviously my lady is out there. There are a lot of pros to being out there. And so for me, it's just about being in the right spot. Ultimately, that's the number one most important thing, being in the right spot." Lloyd says, what he's saying, what he's supposed to be saying. The right spot for him will be, obviously, the team that has the most interest in him. I would assume, for him, the best case scenario is returning to Jacksonville. I mean, Jacksonville offering him a top-of-the-line linebacker contract like other teams are likely slated to do, that's probably the best possible thing for Devin Lloyd because, he knows he'll have success in Jacksonville. Anthony Campanile was absolutely massive for Devin Lloyd. He's essentially a linebacker whisperer. If you're seeing what he did with Devin Lloyd, what he did with Quay Walker, Edgerrin Cooper the year before in Green Bay, and just being with this coaching staff, with this roster, with this scheme would obviously be significant for Devin Lloyd as he tries to, replicate his career season. And it was an immensely impressive season. There's no arguing that whatsoever. I mean, in 15 regular season starts, here are the numbers. He had 5 interceptions, 1 pick six, 7 pass breakups, 10 quarterback hits, 1.5 sacks, 6 tackles for loss, and 81 combined tackles. I don't think they win the San Francisco 49ers game without him. I don't think they win the Kansas City Chiefs game without him. And he was really a huge part of them getting up on the Indianapolis Colts so early in that critical second half of the season game in Jacksonville. So Devin Lloyd clearly made an impact in Jacksonville. Clearly made an impact, especially so in 2025. There is no debating that, no arguing that. It is the truth. It is what happened. But how does that apply to moving forward? Does that mean the Jaguars should go and do what it looks like would be outside of their range of values when it comes to the linebacker position? Yeah, maybe that's just me assuming, but nowhere where these guys have really come from has the linebacker position been so emphasized that they'd be willing to pay a guy $20 million per year. So it doesn't surprise me that there have been no talks. I'd assume the Jaguars will talk to him, see what his number is, give them their number, and then monitor what happens with him in free agency. But I think the second other teams get to talk to him, that number's going up. And I don't think he's in any position where he should consider a discount just because Jacksonville is the best place for him. Doesn't mean Jacksonville is the only place for him. There are several defenses that I think Devin Lloyd would thrive in. Devin Lloyd also, talked about his kind of fit in Jacksonville and said, quote, "I take pride in being able to do what I did last year in any defense. Obviously, new coaches came in and they understood that I have a skill set. And, as the weeks progressed, they really started allowing me to utilize that skill set more and more and play at the level that I'm playing. So it's always great whenever a defense coordinator believes in you. And, that's the case with any player. All these guys, the coaches do put them in the best position. So, I was definitely a product of that. And then just me being right, for myself as far as being my best every week, it really just comes down to, every day ready to attack practice, ready to attack the game, and that's nutrition, sleep, all the above." Devin Lloyd, essentially is saying, yeah, he was in a great position. That's what great coaches do. Jacksonville doesn't have the only great coaches. We will see in the next 30 to 40 days what happens with Devin Lloyd. But he gave us a critical update this week, speaking from the Pro Bowl.